Hello and welcome to Prince Civil Services YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Sanchit and today we are going to discuss a topic from ecology environment and the topic is eco-sensitive zones. So this is the topic and it is going to be a short video. So let's start this video, and as a pattern we follow that first of all we will discuss that why we are discussing this topic. So why in news or why this topic? So basically what happened recently, Supreme Court of India ordered that every protected forest, national park and a wildlife sanctuary across the country, so wherever there are wildlife sanctuaries, national park, protected forest in the India, the country, they should have a mandatory eco-sensitive zone of minimum 1 kilometer starting from their demarcated boundaries. So that is why we are discussing the topic eco-sensitive zones, because Supreme Court said that every protected area should have a mandatory eco-sensitive zone of minimum 1 kilometer starting from their demarcated boundaries. So this is why in news. Now let's come to the main thing, that is, what are these eco-sensitive zones? What are these eco-sensitive zones? And in short, eco-sensitive zones we can write ESZ, eco-sensitive zones. So way back there was a National Wildlife Action Plan 2002-2016. So in this it was issued by Ministry of Environment. So this National Action Plan said that 10 kilometer of the boundaries of national park and wildlife sanctuaries should be notified as eco-fragile zones and eco-sensitive zones. So this was way back when there was a National Wildlife Action Plan. So what is this? Whatever is in the boundary and the 10 kilometer zone from that boundary of national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, it should be a eco-fragile zone or eco-sensitive zone. But this 10 kilometer rule is not sacrosanct. That means, yes, 10 kilometer is fixed, but areas beyond 10 kilometer can also be notified by the union government as ESZs if they feel like that the ecology of the surrounding areas falls into a sensitive corridor. So if the government feels there is a report that 10 kilometer and beyond that you need to have protection to the area, then that can also be declared as a ESZ, that is eco-sensitive zone. So please remember the 10 kilometer stretch from the boundary of the national park sanctuaries and the 10 kilometer distance is to be declared as ESZ. So this was declared in the National Wildlife Action Plan. Then there were guidelines also and so on. But the current issue is that there have been guidelines by the central government, but state governments are still not notifying this 10 kilometer zone as ESZ, that is eco-sensitive zone, because there is involvement of routine economics. There is sensitivities from the local population and protest from the local population. That is why there are so many pressures and state governments are not declaring these areas as eco-sensitive zones. So Supreme Court has to intervene and said that make 1 kilometer from the protected areas, sanctuaries, mandatory ecological sensitive zones. So this was the issue. Now there can be a question that who will decide or who will declare or who will notify these ESZs? So they will be notified by Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. If some area around a protected area has to be declared as eco-sensitive zones, it will be only declared by moefcc, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So, and under which act? Very important. This could be asked as a separate MCQ, that eco-sensitive zones are declared under which act? So Environment Protection Act or EPA 1986. So this is the act, this is the ministry which is going to declare eco-sensitive zones. Now, why we are constructing eco-sensitive zones? So basically there are major two motives. First is they act as shock absorbers. So there is a protected area, there is a national park, there is a sanctuary. But what about the zone outside that protected area? So there is also a fragile environment. So these are created as shock absorbers so that they minimize the negative impact on the fragile ecosystem by certain human activities taking place nearby. So protected areas are shock proofed, kind of shock proofed by having these eco-sensitive zones. Another is they act as transition zone, that is from the areas requiring high protection to those requiring lesser protection. So there is a transition zone and that is a eco-sensitive zone. So these are the two major motives of creating eco-sensitive zones, that is shock absorbers and act as a transition zone. Now, another important thing is that if we declare some zone as ESZ, then what are those activities which are prohibited, which are regulated, and which are completely permitted? So there are three type of activities which are kind of regulated in these areas. First is prohibited activities. You cannot carry these activities at all. They are completely banned. And what are those? You cannot have commercial mining. You cannot use commercial use of wood. Tourism activities are also banned, like hot air balloon activities over the national park. Also, hydroelectric project. You cannot have major hydroelectric project in the ESZ. So these are what? Completely banned activities. There is no if, no but. There is complete no to these activities. Next is regulated activities. They can be carried in these zones, but they will be regulated, like felling of trees, establishment of hotels, commercial use of natural water, erection of electrical cables, discharge, drastic change of agriculture system, and so on. So these are the activities which can be carried, but they are to be regulated. Next is permitted activities, like any ongoing agricultural or horticultural practices, they are permitted. Next is rainwater harvesting, organic farming, use of renewable energy sources, adoption of green technology, among others. These are completely have a green signal that they can be carried as usual. So these are the type of activities which can be carried, which can't be carried, or which can be carried but with regulation. So this was a small topic from ecology environment, that is eco-sensitive zones. I hope you got an idea what are eco-sensitive zones, what is the 10-kilometer stretch, what is the act, and what is the authority, what is the ministry's name which can regulate or notify such zones. So this was the video. I hope you got an idea. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel Prince Civil Services, and you can also follow us on Instagram and Telegram also. So thank you. Keep watching, keep learning.